Ho! It's me, your friendly neighborhood hen dad. Just how you like him, bent over. We're inside my hamster mobile, which I've named Deus Volt, being that's a 2011 Chevy Volt. I thought I would take my stab at K-car videos as a new genre for this channel. It's KEI, microcar camping channel, like Dentan and other examples of that genre here on YouTube. What they do is they convert their cars to turn into cozy little forts at a moment's notice. Then they drive out into the country and they prepare a meal and then they sleep in their car. I'm not going to be sleeping in this car because I'm not that far out of civilization. But I do have a folding table here and all the things I need to prepare a meal. Jackeries are popular on that channel for a good reason. They make it really much safer to boil water and cook indoors than you could with isopro camping stoves. Although some of them still do that. That's a little bit crazy and dangerous, if you ask me. Got this nice little 300-watt electric heated thermos / kettle, which purportedly can boil water in about 6 minutes. I found it takes closer to 7 or 8. Depends on what the temperature is of the water when you're starting. They also don't locate the plug high up enough on the body that you can put it into a safe holder like this, which would be nice if they thought of that. You also can't really see, but I've got seat back organizers on both of these seats. I thought about one of those overhead mesh, cargo meshes, but that requires there to be 4 handles at the edges of the roof of your car and only have 2. So that wasn't in the cards. Let's get the water started. My Jackery down here. I could be using my car power. I don't like to do that though because it's 180 volts, and if you push it much above that, then you blow a fuse and the whole car starts to misbehave. What I can do is charge the Jackery from the car, and that'll get me up to 300 watts. I want to upgrade to a better Jackery in the future. The 2000 watt hour one also has a 2000 watt output inverter, which will let me run basically anything. I can even heat water for a shower off of that kind of output. Let me set a timer before I do anything else. You do not want to let this run over, otherwise it boils over everywhere. Here we go. You can see the light. It's cooking. I better fucking hurry up and prepare the ramen. This is not your usual Nissan or Top Ramen. This is bougie ramen, if there is such a thing. It's udon from the Japanese grocery store. The noodles come pre-hydrated. They're actual noodles. Not whatever ramen bricks are. Not that those aren't good, but they're actually better if eaten dry. Whatever that shit's made out of, it's just better as a dry snack. I'm sure many of you out there will back me up on that. If you've ever been a broke college student just munching and crunching on some dry ramen bricks, wondering if this is really what your life has become. That's the real poverty struggle. I also have, you can't see, I have seat back trash bags so I can handle all the waste on both sides and also in the front, because I have friends in this car sometimes and I want to make damn sure that if they have trash to throw somewhere, they can't miss it. Like, there's a trash can everywhere around them, like within 2 inches of them. I'm a bit of a stickler for keeping my car neat, because that's how you keep it nice. And if you're going to be camping in it, which I do frequently, if you couldn't tell, you really want to keep it clean and hygienic if you can. As for how I got into this hobby, fear of being homeless. I've been terrified of being homeless ever since I was a little kid. And it intensified when I briefly was homeless in Florida. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into that here. Suffice it to say, it put the fear of God in me, and I spent the next several years preparing the gear necessary to be homeless comfortably, which turns out to be a really smart hobby, because generally the gear you need to be homeless comfortably is the same thing as camping gear, which is in turn not quite the same, but there's a large overlap between camping gear and prepping gear. So it's really a great economy hobby, because it's 3 hobbies in one in terms of the shit you have to buy. As for my drink, I've got a little coffee here. It's night, but you know, that's the way I like to live my life. And I think that everything's gonna be just fine. I see people day drinking all the time recently. This is not too far out of question. Let me check how my water's doing. 3 minutes, 21 seconds left. Got all the fixings mixed up here. We've also got, whatever the fuck this is. This is Korean rice cake. I've been informed that's actually a type of noodle, despite what the name implies. I'm not really feeling adventurous enough to try that yet. What I am going to talk about is entertainment. I can't show you because I'm using my phone to film this, but my phone goes into this, and the Fresnel lens can magnify it to be a larger screen for watching videos. I've got a mouse, a Bluetooth mouse somewhere around here, which works with Android natively and puts a cursor on the screen, and a Bluetooth keyboard somewhere, so I can use this as like a space-saving laptop, because a laptop is a big clunky thing you don't necessarily want to use in a car setup like this. But this lets me use it reconfigurably as a TV, as a computer, and also as a gaming system. And the controller is Bluetooth and also has a little keyboard. So I can use the computer functions as well as playing Android games, which is mostly emulators. There's actually a lot of good stuff on Android, shockingly, but people sleep on that for some reason. I think BioShock is on Android, isn't it? Or is that iOS? Only 2 minutes left. I can hear it starting to get ready to boil. What I would need in order to do all this shit just with my car battery, with the lithium-ion traction battery, is an inverter. You don't want to run inverters at max capacity, so I would actually get a 2,000 watt one, not a 1,500 watt one. In the intent to run 1,500 watt loads on it, so it wouldn't be maxed out, especially because it's going to be a confined area underneath the rear storage, which is where most people who mod their volts in that way put it. There's also a neat 3D printed side panel that goes right there. You can't really see, it's dark, but it pops right into where an existing panel goes on the car to cover up the fuse box. That gives you a nice, seemingly built-in outlet and little digital control panel for the inverter to turn it on and off. It's very sleek. It looks like it was part of the car from day one. I'm really intent on having that specific setup. Then I will be able to run anything imaginable. I won't have to get special versions of appliances that are low wattage. I'll be able to run full-fat household appliances off of the car battery, which is 16 kilowatt hours, of which 11 kilowatt hours are... What happened? Okay, we had a light failure for a minute there. I guess I've been in here too long. Yeah, I would be able to run full-fat household appliances off of this car if I had that inverter. Appliance timer's going off. That should indicate that the water is just about ready. It certainly feels like it's heated up. I'm not going to let it reach a rolling boil because then it could spill over. Ooh, yeah, that's nice and steamy. I'm hydrating my dinner here. There's a cottage industry, so you might say, of people who love the Volt specifically because it's adaptable to this purpose. That's where I got these cushions. Voltshelf.com. I don't think that's actually the website. It's like voltshelf.weebly or something. It's a blog. He made his a store on a blog for some reason. He sells little shelves that attach here that gives you like a table surface like this that's semi-built into the car. He sells a grill that goes over the grill that has a finer mesh to keep small rocks from flying in and puncturing your radiator, which is a $1,200 fix and a very common problem with these cars. All kinds of nice little upgrades, and many of them are specifically geared towards car camping, which a lot of Prius users do as well, but not to flex on Prius users or anything, but the Volt has a much bigger battery and is much better suited for that purpose. So if you like Prius camping, if that's intrigued you, the Volt is like that on steroids. I mean, time. I imagine you could do this even better in a Tesla, except you would be using your traction power to like cook and heat and whatnot. And I don't know about that one, because you want to be sure that at the end of the day you're able to leave the campsite and get all the way home. With this, even if I drain the battery all the way down, I've still got the gas engine to get me wherever I need to go. It doesn't let you use the bottom 10% of the battery, so it has enough still for regenerative functions and to start the engine. Okay, Jackery, that's enough. Yeah, those 2,000 watt Jackeries. If you haven't got a plug-in hybrid, that's the way to go for if you want a car camp like this, because they'll run anything. And quite a few times, you might be surprised. I had an argument with someone who just could not wrap his head around cooking breakfast multiple times. And I'm talking eggs, toast, I think turkey and rice and coffee multiple times on the 2,000 watt hour Jackery. And I showed him a video of that happening, that it only drained the battery like 12 to 15% each time. And it just blew his mind. The key is that while the drain is high, the duration is short. He's generally running like a microwave or a toaster oven or just boiling water or frying something on a pan. He wasn't like slow cooking or anything. You don't ever want to run a slow cooker on a battery unless you have a lot of it. I mean, basically, unless you're forest, don't slow cook on a battery. That guy's got a giant brick of battery in that van. Where are we? Got 3 minutes left until we can chow down. Where the fuck did I put my fork? That's going to be a problem, isn't it? Well, I interrupted. No, here it is. Got a nice one of these. It's a spoon, fork, knife combo that's easy to wash and reusable. You can get these in titanium, which if you want to spend that kind of money on a utensil, I strongly recommend. So how did I get here? Besides just being a very fear-driven person ever since as a kid, I had this formative experience as a child where my dad made a point to show me homeless people, just so I would understand what the needy look like and begin to process, to cogitate in my little boy brain feelings of empathy and understanding that there is inequality in the world and whatnot. It had that effect on me, but I think he didn't intend it to just terrify the shit out of me and give me nightmares about just being alone and not adequately dressed for the weather and outdoors and lost at night in some kind of like liminal space urban environment that just stretched on forever. It was just a bunch of asphalt, concrete, and street lamps. It's raining, it's cold, it's wet, and I can't find anywhere warm and dry. And you have that nightmare enough, and you start to prepare yourself. And some people say that's setting yourself up for failure. I don't agree. I think there's a healthy amount of preparation that I think that everybody should put in. It's better to be prepared and not need it than vice versa. It's not like I haven't been running as fast as I can on the treadmill with all my finger in all these different pies, trying to get published in China, trying to get published domestically, like TradPub, actual physical Dead Tree books and whatnot. Trying to do that children's book with Grammy M on Twitter. Doing this whole Patreon thing, streaming. I'm trying to make stuff work, and it's getting better year by year, but it doesn't ever diminish my concern about what could happen. Like, no matter how on the ball you are, there's stuff that can happen that's out of your control. And in the event of a natural disaster, it's really not the natural disaster you have to be afraid of. It's the way that people react to it. Scared people are a force of nature unto themselves. This doesn't really help me defend myself. In the event that something like that was happening, I'd have to get the fuck out of Dodge in a hurry. I'd have to get far away from population centers, because otherwise I'd just be a big blinking shoot and rob me sign. It'd be like Cormac McCarthy's The Road, but much shorter. It'd be like one chapter that ends in me getting robbed and then stripped and then shot. Maybe in a different order, but same gist. I don't go crazy with it. I don't have like a bunker. I don't have like stacks of milled syrup MREs, mainly because I've heard those things make you fart so hard that it turns the last couple inches of your intestines into a tail. Oh, look. Looks like it is time to complete the preparation of these noodles. Ooh, those look soft. Nice and soft. I always like udon. Those big chewy noodles. Really good noodles, actual good expensive noodles, are so good they can bring you back from the brink of death. They're a kind of medicine. That's why they cost as much as they do. You want a good bowl of ramen, properly made ramen in this town, you're looking at like $14-15 after tip. You can cheap out a little bit, but it's not like an even spectrum of quality. There's a drop off after some point where you're better off just not eating anything. I learned that lesson in college that better to just go hungry than to regret what you ate. It's a bad feeling to spend money on food and then regret eating it. Like when you just buy a fuckload of the cheapest Chinese food you can get just to fill your stomach, and then you wind up paying for it on the toilet all night. That poor toilet, he never did anything to deserve that. Come on. Untangle, you piece of fucking... There you go. Make sure I don't make a mess here. You can't even see what I'm doing. Stirring this. Should really learn how to film videos of this type properly before I... whatever. There's no rules. There's no YouTube cops here to tell me I'm filming wrong. There might be actual cops here soon. I don't have a very good vehicle for stealth camping. Transforming this thing into a shelter takes a lot of very visible steps, and I don't have tinted windows yet. So if you're using this for this purpose, everybody in like a mile radius is going to know that's what you're doing. And my plan, if that happens, is just to assure them I don't plan to sleep here. Stirring in the, what I assume is a mixture of like soy and fish sauce or something, or the flavor packet. It's a liquid flavor packet. Let's say it's fancy. You have actual hydrated noodles that come that way, and liquid flavor packet instead of powder that you have to dissolve. This is a pretty good one. It's katsuo, which is apparently some kind of tuna. I don't really like tuna out of the can, but I like the flavor in ramen. I've been shocked by the quality of ramen places around here. Some of them you can't tell by location just because the real estate market is so fucked up that it's hard for even really decent establishments to get good locations anymore. I've eaten some of the best ramen in this town in little strip mall ramen places that, sure enough, if you look on Yelp, that tells the real story. Where you look at the reviews, that gives you an idea of what to expect. You can't judge a book by its cover. There's this other ramen place that has outdoor seating and has a duo of chefs. This one American guy and his Japanese buddy that he brought from Japan to work there as the chef. And they both studied noodle preparation. They make their own noodles in-house, and it really makes the difference. I've had shit ramen before. It's really sad, and it makes you sad, especially when they get half of it, or like they get it partially right. Like the broth is good, but the noodles are really cheap, and you can tell that they're not fresh, or vice versa. Really, really good ramen is just electrifying. It's one of those things, one of those special meals, and this is a nice thing to have. Anything that even comes close to approximating it when you're camping on Mount Hood, which I do a lot. I use logging roads to do off-site camping, which is perfectly legal and saves you the huge expense of a campground. You just can't make a fire, which is a problem for other people, but not for me, because I don't have anything that needs fire or fuel, really. I have an optional backup jet boil, but I don't really need to use it because I do everything electrically, because I'm the future man. Let's give this a couple minutes to absorb more water. Give it 2 minutes. This is really becoming increasingly feasible as more people get woke, pardon the buzzword, to the utility of these power stations. I've been talking about it for years. You just go back on my channel and my videos, and you can find me being unwilling to shut up about these battery packs from the start. That you can do things on them you wouldn't expect to be able to. There's a limit. There's a limit. If you want to run really big appliances, you're not going to run a dishwasher. You're not going to run a dryer or a clothes washer. You can run a fridge for on the biggest one for like 2.5 days, 2.5 3 days on that, which surprises a lot of people. If it's a car fridge, much longer than that. And as long as it powers it through the night, if you have the solar panels too, and you're really going out far, where you can get good unobstructed view of the sky, then it's better than a generator because it refills itself every day. As long as you buy a big enough solar array for it. And it really honestly works. People who are used to using a gas generator do not trust it until they see it work with their own eyes. You do need pretty good quality sunlight to get the best charging performance out of it, but it still works pretty okay as long as it's a good, nice day out. The fantasy is to eventually have something that is like a pop-up shelter. Steve Wallace on YouTube does a lot of camping videos with unorthodox shelters, and he made this coroplast shelter that's sort of origami and unfolds and it gives you solid walls. It looks really smart, but apparently it condensation forms all over the inside and then just drips on you, which I guess the fantasy of it is better than the reality. But there's got to be something like that that's better than a tent, where you can just like that and bam, it's set up and ready to go. And then all the electrical shit's built in. You could build in like thin lipo pouches into the walls and build the thin film solar into the roof. Like everything you need to make power and use it is being reduced to something very compact and solid state. So we're getting really close to a Star Trek or Jetsons type camping experience. At which point it stops being camping and it starts being off-grid living. You'll be able to live very comfortably and conveniently wherever it is that you please, so long as you have access to sunlight or moving water if you're using hydropower. Anyway, thank you for the food. Go away. This isn't mukbang. What do you think this is? Damn, pretty good for something made in the car. This was really safe though, and a pretty basic, humble starting video. That's okay though. Humble is good. I'm gonna do more daring meals using all manner of in-car gadgets to show off the gadgets as I do more videos in this series. So look forward to those. Oh yeah, actually, specifically, I just got a 260 watt steamer for like rice and broccoli, and I think I'm gonna make some dumplings in it. So don't miss that, or forever regret your choices and wonder what may have been.